So with the conclusion of Hogwarts Legacy in our stream that we were doing on the game, I honestly love the game. I think the game is fantastic. If I had to score the game, I'd probably do an 8.5 out of 10. Even with its issues that it has, it's a fantastic game that's worth playing by everybody. And honestly, it is the farthest thing from a transphobic piece of entertainment that you can possibly get. But with that being said, the game of course continues to cause drama amongst the trans community. And J.K. Rowling just recently got a death threat. Yes, she got a death threat from a trans author. Now, this author has been banned on Twitter after initiating that death threat, but I sincerely hope that this psychopath gets everything that's coming to them in terms of legal proceedings from J.K. Rowling, something along those lines. I hope it happens. But we're going to get into the article, guys. This one comes for us from good old New York Post, and it says, trans author Gretchen Felker Martin said she wants to do that to J.K. Rowling's throat in a since deleted tweet. Now, my problem with this whole thing is that whenever you try to act tough online like these people normally do, they always end up deleting the tweets. It makes you wonder, why do they end up deleting the tweets? If you don't stand by what you say, why would you say it in the first place? Why would you go as far as to say something insane like this? I mean, come on. These people obviously are psycho. I mean, this is literally 1% of the 1%. You know what I mean? Like, this person does not represent the entire trans community, but unfortunately online, where Twitter is a bubble that's just waiting to burst, this person is deemed to be a loud voice in such a small minority of a minority. It's ridiculous. So it says J.K. Rowling is under attack from trans horror author Gretchen Felker Martin, who threatened Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling in a since deleted tweet this week. A well-known transgender horror author who was among the signers of a letter decrying the New York Times' biased reporting on trans issues said she wants to do that to J.K. Rowling's throat. Gretchen Felker Martin called out several writers she said were transphobic, including Harry Potter author Rowling, on February 12th. If they all had one throat, man, she added in the since deleted tweet. Now again, does this person seem to be any sort of normal? I mean, come on, dude. Like, you gotta, after a certain point, you have to question what the hell is wrong with people. You are literally threatening violence against somebody because they hold a different point of view from you. Do you understand how crazy that makes you look? I mean, listen, you already look crazy as it is, so there's really not much that can be done that's going to make you look any less crazy or more crazy than you already are. But at the end of the day, it's ridiculous that they cannot hold themselves, they cannot control their emotions at all. They lose their minds when someone else disagrees with them because they're so used to getting everything their way, especially in the online space, that the moment they see somebody else disagree with them, you have people that look like this. They want to pretend like they want to get up in an uproar and that their rights are being taken away and everything like that. It's the most stupid thing. It says Felker Martin came under fire last year after writing a self-confessed, depraved psychosexual horror show in which Rowling is being burned in her home. Wow, so she actually wrote a self-confessed horror show starring J.K. Rowling. Okay, so it's very clear this person is obsessed with J.K. Rowling. And again, I've said this on stream on Saturday Night Hypnosis. I've said it multiple times that J.K. Rowling would have been the ultimate ally for people like this. If they just would have shut the hell up and just be perfectly fine with her disagreeing on one thing, they would realize that J.K. Rowling agrees with everything else they talk about. J.K. Rowling was literally the most hardcore progressive over the last decade or so, only until recently in the last few years when she started getting all this drama regarding her stance against biological women. But up until then, she was a hardcore progressive, and she still probably is till this day. If you were to ask her any other progressive talking point, she would probably agree with you. So it's just weird to me that somebody like that just all of a sudden wants to go after somebody like J.K. Rowling, who is very clearly on their side. If they just took 2 seconds, just 2 seconds, to look into it a little further past, oh my God, this person disagreed with me, so they're bad and we must cancel them. If they just took 2 seconds to look past that, they would realize that. But of course, it's never going to happen. It says her debut novel, Manhunt, follows 2 trans women attempting to survive in a world ravaged by a plague which transforms anyone with enough testosterone in their system into a shrieking monstrosity. Does that even sound like a good book to you? Oh my God. So if you have too much testosterone in your system, it turns you into a shrieking monstrosity. So, I mean, obviously all the men, I would assume, would turn into monsters at that point, and the only ones who wouldn't are men who are basically trying to be women, who probably are on a lot of estrogen, or they are just soy boys. I mean, I don't really know, like, what kind of concept is that for a book? I mean, listen, everything can exist at this point, but still, it's like, who would find that interesting? It says they find themselves at war with TERFs, the derogatory acronym for so-called trans exclusionary radical feminists, including the Knights of J.K. Rowling. Earlier, Felker Martin had condemned the murder of British transgender teenager Brianna Gay, 16, implying that Rowling and others had stoked the violence that led to the killing, the Daily Mail reported. Do you have any proof of that? Do you have any proof of that? I hate when they say stuff like this without any proof whatsoever. It's like, do you have any proof of that, dude? Like, honestly, no pun intended. Do you have any proof of that? You have no proof of what you just said. You are just trying to say stuff that you know is going to get headlines, man. It is ridiculous. The fact that they can actually come out and say stuff like that with no evidence to back it up whatsoever is pathetic and really ridiculous, and it needs to stop. This whole, like, oh, you're instoking violence against me by disagreeing with me. It's like, it's such a cop-out. It says police don't yet have motive in the case, but two 15-year-olds have been arrested. Journalist Jesse Singal, who also named in Felker Martin's tweet, blasted the author's death threat and said he does not understand why she is allowed to tweet about such violence. If you are seen as being on the wrong team, then if you quote retweet one just a bit too snarkily, that's considered harassment. But the good people, the be kind crowd, can threaten and harass you and tell you to kill yourself, and it's all good, he tweeted. And that's true. That's exactly how Twitter is. These are the most, in air quotes, right? The most tolerant people in the world. They claim to be so tolerant, so inclusive, so diverse. And yet the moment you have any diversity of thought, they want to cancel you. And that's the problem. The people preaching about diversity so much have literally zero diversity of thought. They all think the same. They're all told to act the same. The moment they're told to be mad at something, they're going to go be mad at it. And if you ask them why they're mad, they're going to completely repeat the same things they were told to repeat. Felker Martin's tweet was posted just before she joined 180 activists who signed a letter to the Times criticizing its recent coverage of transgender issues. The Times published a column further defending Rowling the day after the letter was delivered, which angered activists even more. An email sent to staff by executive editor Joseph Kahn and opinion editor Kathleen Kingsbury, obtained by the Post on Thursday, admonished those who signed the letter. We do not welcome and we will not tolerate participation by Times journalists in protests organized by advocacy groups or attacks on colleagues on social media and other public forums, they wrote. Rowling has become a flashpoint for trans activists after she openly questioned whether trans women should be allowed access to some female-only spaces such as prisons, domestic abuse shelters, or sporting contests. She addresses the backlash in her forthcoming podcast, The Witch Trials of J.K. Rowling, and said her comments were profoundly misunderstood. I never set out to upset anyone. However, I was not comfortable with getting off my pedestal, she said. Hey, listen, I don't disagree with a single thing that J.K. Rowling has said. J.K. Rowling has the right to say such a thing. She's a biological woman, and there needs to be more biological women that stand up for themselves. But unfortunately for women, a lot of women are perfectly fine with letting men invade their spaces because they don't want to be deemed as progressive, and feminism has lost all of its meaning. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.